Good morning. This is Pastor Gary Nagy of Resurrection Lutheran Church with a recap of Sunday's sermon from July 25th. God limits things, thank God. Moses tells us that when the flood was all over and Noah, his family, and the animals were able to leave the ark, God put a promise, a sign in the sky, that he would never again flood the world universally. And that when God saw the rainbow he had put in the sky, he would remember his promise. Well, that's a picture of God taking action after remembering something, and because he remembers, he takes action. But it's also that God limits things. Certainly there are terrible floods like we've heard in China and America's southwest, but they are not universal floods. There's another sign. Jesus said, just as the Son of Man was lifted up on a cross, that would be a sign that our sins have been paid for. So you and I should live lives free from the consequence, the burden, the guilt, the eternal death that sin brings. We should live joyful lives, even in the midst of troubles and adversities, because we also know that God still limits things in our lives. Thank God. In Mark chapter 6, Mark tells us about Jesus walking on water. He had sent his disciples ahead of him, and they were rowing against the wind, not making any headway. And Jesus was walking on the water, ready to pass them by. But when he saw that they were struggling, he came into the boat to be with them, and the wind died down. He knows the limits that we have. As a matter of fact, Jesus said, if he were not to limit all of the terrible things that go on until the end of the world, Judgment Day, not even a strong, brave believer could be standing. He knows our limits. He knows our strengths, but he knows our limits. And so he limits things that come our way so that they don't ruin us or cause us to walk away from him spiritually or walk away from our faith. He uses those bad things to strengthen us, to encourage others that we can, as people, live under troubles because God is using that trouble not for a punishment. That was Jesus on the cross to take our punishment, but rather used for some good, some higher benefit. So we rejoice that God limits things. And then Paul, in his letter to the Ephesians for last Sunday's epistle, talked to us about you and I are rooted and grounded in God's love. That's like those little palm trees you see in a hurricane. Everything else around it is demolished, but that palm tree remains standing because it's rooted and grounded. We are rooted and grounded in God's love. And that, Paul says, gives us the power to know how wide, how long, how deep, how high the love of God is. It surrounds us. And in surrounding us, it limits our troubles because he doesn't want us to fail in our faith. He wants us to grow and be strong in our faith, but he never wants us to fail. All because of his love for us, demonstrated, given by the blood given in the body given on the cross to pay for the sins of the world, and then rising again to the new life that we have, the life filled with hope and promise. That's sort of a recap of what we talked about Sunday. God bless the rest of your week.